Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our COVID-19 Response Committee meeting of Thursday, May the 7th, 2020. I just welcome you all to the meeting, especially members of the public who are at home and watching us, the media, and will be listening in, and councillors and staff. So welcome. Call for apologies, but I think everyone is here. No, I don't see Diane. I haven't heard she's an apology. Perhaps she might be for lateness. We'd move in a second that we take Diane, Councillor Rawlinson as a move as for lateness. Lane and Carolyn, all in favour, raise your hand. Thank you. Extraordinary business, and I've just got one item, which is item number 8, and it's just a verbal update on the Youth Council meeting that was had earlier in the week. And Councillor Lovett will just give a verbal update on that. Give a mover that we accept that item of business, extraordinary business. Carolyn, John, all in favour, raise your hand. Carried, thank you. Declarations of interest. Any declarations? No, thank you. Item number 4, the COVID Response Committee, 30th of April minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes on page 5? Page 6. 7. And 8. If not, someone like to move that the true and accurate record of that meeting. Roger and Carolyn, all in favour, raise your hand. Carried, thank you. Next item is item number 5, terms of reference, COVID-19 economic recovery advisory group. And don't see Bevan there, but Hamish, you might.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I see you're. Yep. Sorry, Bevan.
Very, very small in the background.
Yeah. Thanks, Bevan. So there's
nothing to add. If questions.
Any questions, Bevan? There's a recommendation there, terms of reference for the advisory group. Angus.
Oh, I was going to move. I thought the terms of reference were very good. And thank you for putting manufacturing in. If someone wants to have a yarn with me, I've got a few names. There's quite a few around Ashburton.
Oh, yep. And Lane seconded. Yep. Thanks, Angus. And Bevan, you have got some names already, but we're still a couple short, I think. Is that right?
Well, we're only one short at this point, and that is in the area of agricultural. Overall, we've got David Clark from Federated Farmers, but we're also going to bring in someone agricultural business, and just waiting to hear from someone. But we've got manufacturing covered, as pointed out by Angus, and all the other areas we've got people who have agreed to come on board.
Okay, so if we struggle there, then we could take Angus's lead and get some names off him.
Yep. Well, we've got someone from we've got the manager out from Tallies for manufacturing.
Oh, great. Right. Yeah, Angus is agreeing with that. That's good. So when do we make those people who have got names public, Bevan?
Well, they've all agreed. I could read through them now if the council wished.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. And you've only got one vacancy left, which you're still yet to fill, but we'll save that one for and when you've got it confirmed. Then
that's correct. So if I work my way down it for tourism, we've got James Urquhart from NZ Ski. For contracting representative, we've got Greg Donaldson. EA Networks infrastructure representative, we've got Roger Sutton for that. We've got Aaron Chudley for Tallies. For their retail representative, Bob McDonald. For transport, Simon Waring. For the construction area, we've got Andrea Lee, who's Ashburton Registered Master Builders president. For hospitality, we've got Nikki Milmine from Somerset Grocer. For iwi, we've got Carl Jackson and David Clark for Federated Farmers. And as I say, Federated Farmers business, not Federated Farmers, agricultural business, we're just looking for one more person.
Great, it's a good lineup. Liz, you have a question?
Just wondering when the first meetings were sort of planned. I suppose once you've got the group and going forward, but what's your sort of plan for going?
It would be, sorry to interrupt, Liz. The meeting went out yesterday. We're planning for next Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so we're not hanging around, getting on with it.
Cool. So Angus moved the terms of reference and Lane seconded. Is there any further discussion on them? If not, I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All those in favour, raise your hand. Thank you. Good. And the next item, item number 6, is the draft government policy statement and draft NZ rail plan. And this matter needs to be uplifted for discussion. So we can have a move we uplift. Oh, Carolyn and Lane, all in favour, raise your hand. Good. The matter's uplifted and now for discussion. And who have we got? Is it Neil McCann, perhaps, is it? If there's any questions, oh, Neil, there you go. Yep. Councillors, are there any questions? You've all had a copy of the submission now, which the Mayoral Forum coordinated it. You've had a copy and read their submission, and I've had no comments back. But mayors around the Mayoral Forum have all commented that they are for it, as it's originally written up. Christchurch City wanted a few changes, but the general consensus was there were to be no changes to the submission. And those words we've got in there are actually captured in the submission now, I believe. So I think it's we've got all our bases covered. So that's what we wanted in there is in there. So that is good for that submission. Any questions of Neil while he's here on that? No, I've just had also a wee comment sideline. Councillor Rawlinson's just having trouble coming in on the live feed, so she's oh, there she comes. She's here. Welcome, Diane. Yep. So we have a move and a seconder that submission heads off to where it goes to. Diane, you raise your hand.
Yes, I did. I thought that it was well worded. The submission, the rail one was very well worded, and I think was it the land transport one, that paragraph 5. I see Carolyn commented was very wordy, but didn't really say anything. But overall, I thought the whole thing was quite well done, and our inputs were obviously in there. So well done to Neil.
So you're moving that we?
I'm happy to move. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the seconder. Lane. Any further discussion? No, I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All those in favour, raise your hand. Carried. Thank you. Next item of business number 7, the ADC Treasury Bancorp report. And we have a copy there. And Paul, you would speak to this if there's any questions. Councillors, any questions of it? Things are certainly different now than what we were since the last report, no doubt, around the world. Paul, just have one question for myself, and it's the average interest rate. Well, I'm sorry, the average interest rate is on the report.
Yep.
Can we have a table where what each of our tranche of loans interest rate is, or is it there somewhere?
If it's not there, I can get that to you.
You generally take tranches down about 5 millions or 10s, I think.
10 is the most we've done in one tranche.
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, I can provide that information. The weighted average interest rate is 3.29 at the moment.
3.29, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have no borrowings from the bank.
Only a $2 million facility with one of the banks which we haven't drawn on. So all the borrowing's done through the LGFA.
But John.
Yeah, I think on page 18 is the detail you're looking for, Neil.
No, yeah, no, I don't think it is. I was more thinking $10 million and the interest rate is 3.2%, something like that. Then there'd be another 5 million under it, 4.2%.
To Mr. Mayor, there is, that table does give you the amounts, but maybe it's what it doesn't show is the interest rate swaps over the top of the debt. So it does have interest rates there. So it does total the 42 million of borrowings. So,
Right.
for example, on that page, the very first loan is actually a 15 million loan, and it's at 1.06.
I've got mine on a different page, 18.
Have you?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm looking at.
Page 20.
Paragraph 3 of the report, Mr. Mayor.
Page 20, it gives all those figures.
Paragraph 3 of the report.
Oh, yeah, I see it. No, yeah, that's right. But that, yeah, no, it is. It's page 20 that's clears that up. The so take the top one, 20 maturity 25th April 20. What is the total interest rate paid on that loan?
1.06.
Right. No, that's fine. That's clear.
Does that include the margin, Paul?
Yes, it does.
That's a good rate.
Yep. No, it's all there. Thanks, Paul. It was just clarifying. That's the lowest we've probably ever seen interest rates.
It is, but you realise it's on very short term. That debt.
Yeah. No, it's all there. Thanks. Any other questions? We have a move in a second then that we received the report. John and Carolyn, all those in favour, raise your hand. Carried. Thank you. Item number 8, Youth Council report. And Lynette, you've had a meeting. If you just want to give us a verbal update how that went.
We had a meeting last night via Zoom. 9th of May is Youth Week, and so they're hoping to put up a post on social media each day on getting out and walk for fresh air, mental health, well-being, psychological well-being, and back into a routine from quarantine and stability for the future. So that's what they're planning to do next week. August, they're looking at the Mountain Festival at the Trust Centre, and it all depends on COVID, how many numbers and they can have in the venue, and they're looking at doing that perhaps over 5 nights. Bike night, they're busy organising that. At EA Networks, it'll be either inside, outside, weather dependent, and they're actually at the moment looking for dance groups and music groups to perform for that night, and the food trucks. So if anybody knows anything, they can get in contact with them. And also, now that the domain and the speed submissions are still open, they're actually looking at going to the wider community at the college amongst the youth to see if they've got any ideas to put another submission in. So, we may be all sitting at home and stuff, but there's a lot of work still going on in the background. So they're quite a good little group we've got here this year. Very proud.
Good. Any questions of Lynette on the Youth Council? If not, Lynette, would you like to move your report? We receive it.
Yes, I'd like to move that.
In a second, Carolyn, I'll put the motion. All in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. And that takes us to the end of the sort of open part. But just have one question, probably for Hamish. Hamish, we've set up the Economic Recovery Advisory Group. Last week, I think we talked about perhaps a social one. Have you thought any more about a social advisory group and where that might happen or not, or is there a need?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we've given that a huge amount of thought. There's actually a lot of conversations in the background amongst all of local government and agencies in Wellington about what the total recovery mechanism might be for post-COVID, and there's no real clarity yet as to what overlaying structure will come from, I guess, a nationally mandated system, and there's some debate for whether it should be through the civil defence mechanism. There's some debate whether it should be kind of mandated and controlled from Wellington. And of course, there's the counter debates that says it should be much more regionally or district level managed, and that civil defence is geared far more around short-term events rather than long consequences of a pandemic of this nature. So all of that is still up in the air. I agree. I think that the need to simply gather some people together locally to inform each other is probably upon us regardless of the structure, but we have a structure above us. We have just been holding off, seeing if there would be some sort of real clarity. I was on a Zoom meeting yesterday with a number of my colleagues and representatives in Wellington, where there was some pretty lively debate along a very broad spectrum of what is council's ongoing role in the social recovery and support of our communities. And there was no conclusion to that debate, and nor was there a conclusion to what structures would overlay where it finally ends up. There was debate that it would be horses for courses and that one size doesn't fit all. And so councils would be perhaps in a position to reflect their own community's view of how that support might run long term. But again, just repeat, there's no conclusions yet. So I think the need to perhaps get a group together, much as we have done with the Economic Recovery Advisory Group, is probably upon us, and we will bring a paper to the COVID committee next week along similar lines to bring some clarity to it.
Thanks for that, Hamish. Liz.
Thank you. I was just going to suggest that perhaps Safe Communities could fill that role. So the Safe Communities group is 27 different agencies, etc., who have all signed a charter to make our community safe, and that includes mental health. So we've already got that group. I chair that committee, which obviously hasn't met for a while, and council are a part of that. Councillor Rawlinson often comes to those meetings, and also James Lamb is also in contact with that group as well. So it just might be worth thinking about that. I mean, it's already set up. You could sort of do a little bit of tweaking, and it just might work. And the other thing is, a lot of other councils have safer community councils and within their councils as well. So it could be something that would work for a few others. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's a good suggestion, and perhaps after this meeting, I can have a conversation with Councillor McMillan about the makeup of that, the actual detail of the makeup, and we can discuss that, and we might recommend one or two others, or we might say that that's exactly the right vehicle. It's certainly causing a lot of debate in local government circles as to what is territorial local authorities' ongoing role in the social well-being of their communities over the next several years, as opposed to just responding to a lockdown and a pandemic emergency, and if the impact of the the impact of the lockdown has got a really long tail potentially. How does council want to be involved in supporting the community, if at all? You know, there are a lot of other agencies already very active in this space, very capable people, highly trained. What value can council add to the services that are already available? So that's some of the debate that's going on at the moment.
Good. Liz, your supplementary?
I did. I was just going, I can't remember what I was going to add. Oh, yes, I was going to say, I mean, council through the funding is paying for the Safe Communities Coordinator anyway, so it kind of ties in really well. So that was the only other comment.
Great. Stuart?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, I agree with Liz, and we're going to appoint a Citizens Advice Bureau person. I think we're covering the field pretty well. I'm concerned that we don't want to load local bodies, tertiary local bodies, with a financial burden, because as long as we've got this archaic rating system, it's the state that should be providing, and the state's very reluctant to give us money that we use towards social purposes. They expect modern ratepayers. There's going to be a lot of ratepayers under real financial pressure. So we, as a council, we can't expect our ratepayers to fund social services. That's really the obligation of the state.
Thanks for that. Diane?
Thank you. I totally agree with Liz's suggestion. I think as she was speaking, I was thinking, well, that the Safer Community Group, or Safer Mid Canterbury's got such a deep reach into this community already as far as social goes. So I totally support what Liz was suggesting. Thank you.
Yeah, so that it may just be sitting right under our nose, and that can be just used because it's there. So that'd be good. So we'll work on that for next week. Hamish, so that sounds good. So nothing further, I think, an open meeting. So
Robin.
It was Liz.
Thank you. I was just going to, I mean, this time next week we could potentially be in level 2, fingers crossed. What is, I mean, this is normally a COVID-19 update. There's normally a bit of an update from the managers. Is there anything that we need to know going forward? Like what's our, I mean, one question I had was, is our recycling still going to landfill, or is that all sorted now?
Okay, Hamish?
I can ask Neil to comment specifically about the recycling, but the more general point is we have been working, and they've been really useful for us inside the council operation, to the guidelines that the local government and central government response unit has been issuing around the various levels and what that might specifically mean for council activity. And so we have been thinking a lot about level 2, of course, and we imagine that services will be largely open again. But we're really looking forward to the guidelines, which are not due to us until tomorrow, Friday, to dictate the manner of, the detail of what some of our facilities look like. And if you recall, on the way up the alert levels, it was all very new and relatively uncertain, and there was different interpretations, and the guidelines that came with it, or the messaging that came with it, was a lot broader, of necessity, not a criticism. We were all learning as we were going. But there's been a lot of work done, in the last 6 weeks around, in a more detailed fashion, what it means for the various council activities, and therefore we expect there to be a lot more clarity around level 2 on the way down than we had on the way up. And one of the difficult things that we get into, of course, is that if we get our own planning so detailed and too far ahead of the guidelines and find that we wasted all that time, then that's pretty unproductive. So while we're giving it a lot of thought, we are poised to finalise arrangements once we receive those particular guidelines. So that's the overview to our thinking around level 2. In terms of this committee exists until council disbands it. So the life of the COVID response committee is completely in council's hands. At the time that you resolve that its purpose has been served, then we return to our normal committee and council structures. In terms of next Thursday, we will be hoping that might be the ushering in of the next level, but we don't know. We won't know until Monday. And I guess my recommendation would probably be that the COVID committee continues to meet by Zoom next Thursday, because in reality, we've got a lot of other things to get sorted, and that'll be the day we're sorting them on the ground. And one more meeting by Zoom would probably be helpful operationally for us. And then, of course, at level 2, there will be individual choices that councillors will need to make around how they see their own participation in council business. And by that I mean, will some councillors choose to continue to work from home as a choice around their own operation, or will some come in? And if we've then got a mixture, if we're moving to a mixture for meetings, we've got to give some real thought to how we would have some councillors in the room and some on Zoom, and perhaps not with a laptop sitting directly behind me. Might be the way we would do it next time. Yes, we've got a bit of thinking to do, but we would hope, perhaps with your forbearance, that one more Zoom COVID meeting next Thursday would just make things a lot simpler for us on the ground. But this is kind of a longish answer, and I haven't answered the actual question around recycling. So perhaps Neil could pop back in and just clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, what I can confirm is that although we are back to the normal curbside collection, the glass is being collected separately and stockpiled. The recycling on the yellow bin is currently being disposed of in the landfill, but we're hoping that over the next week or two, that will be separated and recycled. All I can say is that at this week, it is being sent to the landfill. So we are encouraging everyone to get back to the usual practice of putting the recycling in the yellow bin, because it could be within a week or two that we could, if we get sufficient separation and no contamination, we are looking at recycling.
Thanks, Neil, for the update. Stuart?
Yes, Neil, I'd like to ask Neil, how did things go when we opened the resource recovery park for everybody to bring green material, or what? Did we have a huge queue, or how did things go, Neil?
We expected a long queue and a big wave, but it fortunately didn't happen. I don't know whether that was self-regulating with people driving and seeing the queue and then coming back later. But it seems to have been well managed. People have just queued. Hasn't been long queues and complaints, and it's going surprisingly well.
Okay, thanks very much for the update. No other questions of the executive team? Lane, you have a question? Yep.
Not a question really. Just about the recycling. I've been there a couple of times over the last since we're back in level 3. It's easier than what it was before, so it runs really quite well. The recycling, it's easier than before.
Good, thanks, Lane. If there's nothing else, I'll thank the viewers from home for participating, and we move into committee. Have a seconder? Carolyn, all in favour, raise your hand. Carried. Thank you very much.